All right, everybody. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us from all across the country. We're glad to have you join us for this very special kind of episode of Note Closers Show podcast as we dive into 63 reverse mortgages. Now, if you've never been on our webinars or taken a class of mine, feel free to comment in the sections. The chat roll is wide open. The Q&A session is wide open. Just respect your fellow folks. If anybody's rude, I'll boot you out really fast. Don't care about that. If you're listening to the replay on this, I would highly recommend you click on over to our YouTube channel and watch click on the link below if you're watching the replay to watch the live breakdown of this, because it's a whole lot easier as we're going through these to follow along visually versus just audio basis. But I know from looking at our numbers and all of our favorite episodes, you guys really love it when we break down deals. And so what we did with this tape breakdown, we did a little bit differently. And I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised, especially our coaching students and our WC and crew members. You're going to love the special twist we have that you guys have access to. So give you a little bit of background. I've been a note investor for over 20 years, bought over thousands of notes, bought over $1 billion in debt, residential, commercial, and we still keep buying. We still buy on a regular basis and didn't slow down. I mean, we slowed down a little bit in 2020 and 2021, but we've been buying every year. We buy something, buy quite a bit actually. And we're pretty excited about what the future has to offer for us. And now, if you don't know what a reverse mortgage is, this is a mortgage where somebody who's over, I guess, 62, 63 maybe goes and gets a mortgage on their house. It's like a renewity, especially it works. It's not credit based. It's all based on the asset and equity in their house. It's a HUD loan. HUD will either A, give them equity, or they won't ever have to make payments again. Now, the idea here is they get to live in the house basically rent free or mortgage free. They still got to pay taxes and insurance. But when they pass away, if they've been in it for a couple of years, obviously their equity is getting eaten away by the payments that aren't being paid. Well, the family heirs has the first right to go back in and pay off the mortgage or sell the house to pay off that underlying mortgage. Well, if they don't do that, or if there are no heirs, then guess what happens? The bank forecloses and take it back. Now, if somebody passes away, and there's no heirs, it's kind of hard to get deed and lose, cash for keys, or to even get the borrower back to the table. I mean, a dead borrower is really truly a deadbeat borrower. Can't make a mortgage payment, right? Now, when you're getting a tape of notes in, most of the time the reverse mortgages on different mixed tapes that we get in from hedge funds, banks, stuff like that, the P&I payment reflects as $1 or zero because the borrower's not making payments. Okay. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's only $1. I don't want to touch it. Well, it's probably a reverse mortgage. Okay. And the great thing, these are all first liens. You're never going to see like a reverse mortgage second on a property because it's just not going to be allowed to. But anyway, this bag actually started off as 44. We reached out to one of our hedge funds that we buy from on a regular basis, and they've been buying a lot of reverse mortgages lately. And they reached out and said, yep, got some stuff. I mean, they just got 200 in before the end of the year. They purchased it. Well, can you give me a list? And here I, rattled off the states I like: Texas, Florida, and a few in North Carolina, South Carolina. And they sent back to me. I said, well, do you have anything else like up in Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota? I'm like, yeah, we actually have done. So I reached out on behalf of one of my WC and crew members and said, okay, send me. Now they had some, they didn't have a lot in like Minnesota, but they did have quite a bit up there. So as you can see here, let's go to the map here for you. You can kind of see the geographic breakdown. Now, I don't really target anything on the West Coast. Right now, we get into that later on. We focus on a lot of the friendlier states. Yeah, I like Indiana. I bought reverse mortgages there. Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, the Carolinas. I bought firsts that I end up foreclosing on, first that we modify, reverse mortgage that we buy and end up foreclosing. So the thing that you have to keep in mind with these reverse mortgages is some of them have been vacant for a while as the heirs and probate are working through things, especially if there's no heirs. So you got to keep that in mind. Now, the great thing about this is you can cherry pick. You don't have to buy the full list, okay? So between the first list we got of 44 and then the additional 19 that we got yesterday, I've been a little busy bee putting together this presentation for you guys, pulling street view photos and then actually putting together this morning probably an easier way for you guys to read, because most of you are pretty familiar with us going through and pulling up a spreadsheet, right? Like this. This is the spreadsheet of all 63 assets we got there. Now it's kind of small. I can make it a little bit bigger. But tonight, I'm not going to go through this, okay? You've got the addresses, the pricing, if they give us a pricing, the borrower's information, address, city, state, zip, county. I did not check taxes. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to go through check taxes. The status of January 2nd, the legal status of foreclosure timeframe. I entered that in on a month-by-month basis or a state-by-state basis over the 9 states. These are all vacant. The BPO value, I did not include the due date. It really doesn't matter because the due date on these is basically when the borrower died. And they're all in that process of being able to foreclose on. All right. Now, in some cases, with my source, the hedge fund, they bought these recently, and they understand that it's taken 5 years roughly, or 4.5 years is the due date. So that's something to keep in mind. And I forgot to include that on the flying sheet, on the flyers that I'm going to go through with you guys. But I do have the current UPB, estimated full payoff equity, in a dollar amount I calculated in by taking the full payoff minus the BPO, or the BPO minus the full payoff, the percentage of equity. Then I figured pricing on these, a lot of times our seller is looking for somewhere around 80%, give or take a little bit, off of BPO value. Now that's if there's negative equity, okay? 80% if they're way upside down. That's what I mean with negative. Now, if there is equity, meaning the property is worth more than the estimated legal balance, I also calculate it at buying at 80%, because then if you sell at the foreclosure auction, you want to see 20, okay? That's a price guidance. It's not mine. It's my price guidance because I don't have price. Now, the seller came back. If I ask individually on an asset or two, he will give me what they're looking for, which I like. That allows me, but he's not going to go through 66 of these or 63 of these assets and tell me when they look price-wise. I have to come up with what I like, what looks good. You know, I look for those that have either a decent chunk of equity, but there is still, if I buy that note, I can still get a pretty decent profit if I sell it at the foreclosure auction and I don't get the yield above on the equity. I don't chase equity, but in some cases, some of these would make sense for you to chase equity as long as you're buying at a point where if you foreclose quickly enough and what you get at the foreclosure auction, if it does sell at what's owed, it's a decent ROI to you, okay? Now, I also ran some numbers in here as well, where I said, okay, if you sell at the foreclosure auction, here's what you're roughly going to see for either off the full legal or the BPO, whichever is higher or less, okay? I also calculated into that $5,000 in foreclosure costs, okay, as a foreclosure cost. Now, some of it's higher in some states, like in Oklahoma, you're not going to spend $5,000, but I just threw that in there anyway, okay? And then I said, okay, if we sell at the foreclosure auction, here's what we would roughly see. Here's roughly the rough ROI, okay? The next step I also did, I said, okay, if we don't sell it at auction, what would we sell it for if we take it back? So in that situation, I took, okay, what's the full BPO minus what we paid for it plus the $5,000 in costs. And then I also took 10% of the BPO value and calculated that to figure that in towards closing costs, you know, realtors, title and commissions and other things, okay? What I did not figure in here, because it's a total asset by asset basis, any type of rehab costs. Now, most of these properties are going to need some sort of clean out. And I've looked at 5 or 6 of these already in the last 24 hours on my own personal aspect of things. And all of them need a cleanup. Some of them need to be updated. Like there's that old style green carpet that so many old folks have in their houses. I don't know, I guess it's their age. There's some pink bathrooms. There's some blue bathrooms, okay? Some of these are in really good shape. Some of these are not in such good shape in a lot of cases. Some of these are in town. Some of these are pretty rural, okay? I tried to pull a street view photo for each one of these. If I could not get a current street view photo or didn't have one, I took an aerial photo. And with the street view photos, I made sure to put roughly the date and the month. So if it was April of 2021, I put it in there. If it was April of this year or last year, 2024, I put that in there too. So you have a bit of reference on how accurate that photo might be, okay? Are there any questions from you guys as we dive into the stuff tonight to help you guys kind of help understand it? Let me pull back up the spreadsheet, the PowerPoint, and we will dive into that a little bit. So let's see here. A couple things. Over 9 states, Florida, Iowa, Kansas. I got Kansas in there twice for some reason. Minnesota, North Carolina, South Carolina, San Diego, and Wisconsin. It is 9 states. Can't remember which one I'm missing, but I'm sure it'll come up. Or Iowa. Anyway, all properties are vacant and their first liens, as we mentioned about. Okay. Now, some of the photos that we see may look like there's occupied. There's somebody at the house. I think I actually caught one It's a couple years old where the family's still hanging out. You can actually see the borrower inside the house from the window. It's kind of funny because all her younger kids are outside drinking and doing whatever. You get interesting photos from the drive-bys. Okay, like I said, all borrowers are deceased. That's why they're vacant, and it's a mixed bag of legal status. Either starting off like first legal has just been filed, to sometimes the midsummer adjustment has been completed, which is pretty much near the foreclosure prices. The foreclosure being completed. Okay. Now the seller, for the most part, if you have an offer you like or something you like, they'll give you, or they'll give me, and they'll give you if you're not direct to them, interior inspections report, title, and BPO values. That's how we know what kind of condition it is potentially is in. Now, even some of these internal BPOs or interior inspections are a little old. You never know what's going on with the holidays. One I was looking at for a deal that I'm looking at, the house looks pretty good. There's actually a car, a Buick, sitting in the garage with a layer of dust on it. Okay, washer, dryer, full appliances. Like I said, some are outdated, and some of these look pretty nice. Okay. Usually, too, the seller will provide like legal status, legal updates if they've been processing for a while. But a lot of these, the first legal is to be filed, so they don't have really any attorney updates yet. Okay. Like I said, some will need some cosmetic work, others need lots of work. Landscaping, clean out, pulling stuff out. That's not too expensive, not too difficult. That's the thing I like. Some had, I think I saw one property had a little bit of sheetrock stuck from some of the internal stuff. It's not that too big a deal. The roof looks pretty good, but you're still going to want to perform your own due diligence. In some cases, you may be able to get the actual lockbox code in some of these properties. They don't have any right now as it stands, but a lot of times I'll go up and take a look at it, especially if it's around Texas or nearby where I'm going to be. I'll go by and I'll get the lockbox code from the actual seller because he trusts me, and I can go in and see interior inspections. And some of you have seen me do some of those videos online as well for you. But the basic strategy on this is a little bit different than what we usually teach. I'm a big fan of cash flow, creating, cash flowing to you guys, buying something that's non-performing and get a good price and get them reperforming. Well, the bar is not coming to the table on this one, okay? So the basic play is you're buying this note at a price that makes sense to sell it either at the foreclosure auction or take it back, clean it up, and sell it as an REO. Now, if you want to hold it as a rental, that's completely fine. I did not calculate rents. I did not calculate turnaround and owner finances against that. Those aren't my favorite strategies. But I got as much information as could off the spreadsheet on here. Now, like I said, 39 of these have equity. 24 have negative equity, means they're upside down. They owe more than the property's worth. Like I said, we calculated purchase price at 80% of the BPO or the legal balance, whichever was less. We calculated in $5K for foreclosure across the board for foreclosure auction sales. Okay, that's selling at the auction. Got to figure that out. Like in some states, it's going to be less than that. Non-judicial states like Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, you're going to not pay $5,000, but I still put that in there just to make it easier. Then I also said if you're going to sell it as an REO, you got to figure about 10% in closing costs, and that's what we did. We took the BPO values that they were given to us, calculated 10% of that for realtor commissions and closing costs, and that's an expense on the REO sale side of the spreadsheet. Like I said, we did not pull property taxes. You're going to need to do that individually. We did not pull rental rates, but we did create these individual deal sheets with a photo I think your guardian was going to love, and we did include average foreclosure and redemption timeframes. I know I've mentioned that already, but that's what we put that in because that's definitely something important. If it's new first legals to start, how long is it going to take for me to actually A, take it to auction, or B, take the property back? Okay. Now, one thing that I did with these deal sheets, I think you're going to love. We used to go on these shadow inventory roadshows. Me, staff, would go with a buddy, Mark Gold, who's no longer around. And we would do these sprinter vans. We ran a big 14, 15 person sprinter. We'd get an SUV, and we'd have 15 to 20 investors fly into like Chicago or fly into Kansas City. And we would spend a day, a Friday, Saturday driving around two cities. Like in Kansas, it'd been like St. Louis and Kansas City, and looking at like 50 properties and come back on the third day and evaluate them, go through them. What do we find? And that's where we kind of came up with the idea of doing these deal sheets. It's a little bit easier to see. You see a photo and you look at the numbers versus looking at the spreadsheet and going back and forth. And I know sometimes a spreadsheet is difficult for some of you guys and gals out there. If you don't like spreadsheets, say no in the chat roll for me. Hey, no, or no likey, okay? Many of us are visual. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm no good at spreadsheets. I'm no good at the formulas. It's kind of like that. I get it. So we tried to dumb this down. And you're not dummies. Simplify it is a better word to put it. Make it a little bit easier for you to follow along. Okay. And I've already talked about this. I just want to put it back up there again. So it's a simple thing for you guys to kind of figure out if you're going to use this kind of strategy. No, simplify them. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah. Let's see here. Question. You're welcome. All right. Good stuff. And then you guys, the chat roll is open so you can communicate with me and ask your questions as we rock and roll. And then the formula if we sell at auction, and then if we sell it with as an REO with negative equity, and our formula for sale as an REO with equity. Okay. Just to give you a bit of an idea. People always ask me, is there a way that you can give me a master spreadsheet with all your formulas? And I'm gonna tell you right now, you can't do that with Excel spreadsheets and tapes from banks and lenders being all different columns. If you put one column in there, if it's not the exact same spreadsheet and somebody's entered something in, it's going to throw it all off for you. So you got to understand the method behind the math, or the method behind my madness when it comes to this. Now, what's not included in here is servicing costs. You could lump servicing costs in that $5,000 in a lot of cases. Okay. And servicing is going to be anywhere from, $35 to $95 a month, depending on which servicer you go with. Some are more active. If you're using an outside attorney, you're going to just pay them a flat like $25-$35 a month. The attorney's going to handle it. Others, you're going to do the attorney through the servicer. So it's completely up to you. All of these states, you should be good license-wise as long as your servicer is licensed to do it. Now, the thing about reverse mortgages, many of them are Fannie Mae, so you want to make sure that your servicer can handle FHA mortgages, because you usually have to report these back to the sellers on what type of status, what happened, okay? After you sell it or whatever you do with it, to report what you sold it for, and also that's one of the things that Fannie Mae wants in a lot of cases. But it's not a big deal, nothing to get your underwear in a bind about, okay? But anyway, let's dive in and go through this. Before anything, one thing to let you guys know, if you got to jump off here, this thing could go for an hour, hour and a half on stuff like that. So I want to make sure and let you guys know we do have our next note buying for dummies workshop coming up here in just over a month. It's hard to believe that, just under a month actually. Austin, Texas is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, February 14th, 15th, 16th. Yes, it's Valentine's weekend. Come fall in love with notes. Bring your sweetie. Austin's a great city. You can have a fun time. Bring your loved one. They can run out while you're teaching. Each day will run from 9 to 5 on Friday and Saturday. Day one will be all about finding deals. We'll probably do a barbecue dinner together that Friday night as a group. Day two is Saturday. It's all about raising money and marketing, how to raise money for notes, best ways, best practices, what you need to do, what you don't need to do. Day three is all about making money, putting the deal together with your scenarios and your money, and then also the exit strategies and really getting your business rock and rolling. So get signed up at notebuyingfordummies.com. We still have a discount code on there for you, or discount. Get signed up tonight. Message me. If you're hanging around to the end, hang around to the end. There might just be even a special offer for you too as well. All right. All right. Let's pull this sheet up. If you're part of our WCN crew. No, Cheryl, we do workshop virtually. We haven't done an in-person workshop in over a year. So everybody's been asking for me to do an in-person workshop. And so we're doing one in February. We'll do a virtual one probably in April, a virtual one for 3 days. But in person is pretty cool because we're going to do a lot of stuff that we're going through tonight. Okay, you're welcome. All right, so let's dive into it. So tonight, where is it? There we go. All right, so share. Oh, this is I don't want the Word doc. Hang on here. Close that down. Give me 1 second. Let me pull up this. I had it up and I accidentally closed it. So what I did is I did a mail merge. So you have a bit of an idea. I took all the information from a spreadsheet and did a mail merge like I'm doing a mailing. And then I structured it into the Word doc so it makes it a little bit easier to read, like the address, the loan number, the information, left a blank spot in there so that I can insert a photo of the property, which is pretty easy to deal. And then just went back and reformatted them, and then even calculated in my returns on this stuff and inserted that as well for you to make it a little bit easier for you. And I believe the math is good on most of the stuff. I don't think I goofed up too much on the math because I actually prefer to be spreadsheets. But for you guys, I understand it's a little bit different. Okay, here we go. All right, let's share my screen now with you guys. Share screen. All right. So this is, let me shrink this down a little bit so you guys can see more. Okay, there we go. So how does that look? You guys, can you see my screen okay? Can I get a thumbs up or a hell yeah on this? Okay, let's see. Yes, Andy asked a good question. So I'm on the West Coast. Looks like this is on the East Coast. Do you find you can do these with no physical presence? Hell yeah. I wouldn't buy anything on the West Coast if you paid me, Andy. It's not friendly foreclosures in California, Portland, Oregon. Those are just like horrible states to buy. Now, Arizona's different. What part of the West Coast are you in, Andy? I'm sorry. You're in a communist state. I wouldn't buy anything in California. For what you can buy in communist California, you can buy a lot elsewhere. And there's also plenty of vendors to go out, do inspections for you. You ain't got to go reach out and touch someone. And 95% of the notes that I've bought have been outside of Texas. And I live in Austin, okay? So I buy all across the country. There's servicers, there's vendors, there's people to go by and do all sorts of stuff for you. No, you don't need a physical presence. You're not fixing flipping these things most of the time. Now, I wouldn't recommend you buy a note halfway across the country and then go to fix and flip if it needs a lot of work. Cosmetic stuff is not too big, but if it needs heavy rehab, I wouldn't touch it. Okay. So, but you might be a control freak just like the rest of us real estate investors, which I imagine you are, because I know I am, right? And it takes a little bit of time, but that's why we teach classes and stuff to teach you how to do this and how to leverage yourself so you're not working hard, you're working smarter. Okay. So this one is in Old Town, Florida, in Dixie County. It was a little remote, so I didn't find a good photo. I found a good aerial. It's a decent sized property. BPO value is $335,000, built in 2004. So it's a 21-year-old home, 3-bedroom, 3.5. It's vacant. The current unpaid principal balance is $786. Okay. The estimated legal balance on this is $792. I couldn't figure out where the heck it went wrong in that value. If the value dropped a lot or what. So this is negative equity. And a lot of negative equity. Okay. No, and I double checked to make sure this wasn't somebody, misplaced a comment. They owe $792,000 on this thing. Okay. So way upside down on this. Purchase price, if I was to pay 80 cents on the dollar of the 335 would be 268. Okay. That means if I bought it at 268 and sold it at auction for the 350 or 335, it'd be about roughly a $62,000 profit, which is a pretty good ROI of 23%. Okay. That's a pretty good ROI of 23%. Now, if I had to take it back and sell it, I've got more expenses. That 20% difference isn't going to get any bigger because there's no equity. So it'd only be about a 10%, 11% return once I sold it in foreclosure. That's not including any rehab cost to it. And any type of increase in value if the BPO goes up. Now, this one, I'd be a million imagine that needed a lot of work. That's probably why the BPO value was so much lower compared to what the unpaid balance was. In Florida, it's a 6 to 12 month time frame to foreclose. It's a little bit faster with vacant properties. And the attorney has issued the notice of intent to foreclose. That's just, it's pending on that going out. So basically, kind of getting the rock and roll start of it. Okay. Foreclosure in California takes, it's always taken about a year too, Jim. Hey, Jim, good to see you. Hey, Jackson, fellow Austinite there. Awesome. Yeah, the thing that's kind of crazy too about California, Jim, is if it is an owner occupant, it's got to go through a judicial foreclosure versus a non-judicial. And that's something that's popped up the last couple of years. So we're not going to be talking about anything in California right now, which is great, except for Andy's house. Happy New Year to everybody as well. Good to see you, Jim. All right, moving on. That one, it's probably a little too rural. If I'm a brand new investor, a little too rural, it probably needs a little bit too much work. That negative equity really kind of concerns me. So we'll move on. Here's another one in Crawfordville, Florida. I do have these alphabetized basically from state, by not city, but state. So we're starting at Florida. We're waiting around for the South Dakota one. You're going to be here for a while. BP value 347, built in 1986, 2-bed, 1-bath, vacant single family. The aerial view, which was from 2 years ago, did look like a blue tarp on there, probably from the hurricane. Unpaid balance of 520. Estimated legal is just under 530. So it's got a negative $182,000 in equity. So basically 53% underwater. Now, if you paid $277 for this, 80% of the BPO, which is lesser, and sold it at the foreclosure auction for value, that's $64,000. That's still about a 23% cash and cash return. If you took it back as an REO, I don't know the repairs, but it drops down because you've got closing costs and stuff like that. So it's not a really good deal if you had to take it back. 6 to 12 months foreclosure time frame, and then once again the NOI, notice of intent to foreclose, is pending. Means it's basically going out. All right. Now we get into Winter Haven, Florida, which is just south of Orlando. It's not a bad looking property here. I know I've got one of my coaching students who's in that neck of the woods. He's driving by this property actually tomorrow. BPO value of 290,000, built in 2010. This is a 2-bed, 2-bath. It is vacant. It's not the biggest of houses, but it's in one of those communities where a lot of the houses look the same. Okay. I do not know if it's a 55 plus community, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but it's still a good looking little property there. UPB unpaid principal balance of 331, estimated legal of 363. So it's got negative 73 grand in equity. It's upside down, about 25% negative equity. If you bought it at 80% of the sale of the BPO, you'd pay 232. If you sold it at foreclosure auction for the value, you'd get 53,000. That's about a 23% cash and cash return. If you took it back and sold it, it drops it down because you've got some closing costs now with realtors and commissions. Like I said, taxes are not figured into this of 24 grand. So it's still about 10% return. Not bad if you took it back. Like I said, you would still want to pull your own BPO, pull your own title as part of your own due diligence, and have somebody drive by the property. Okay. Once again, foreclosure time frame in Florida is about 6 to 12 months. The NOI is pending on this one. This one in Leesburg, Florida. Leesburg is a little bit to the west of Orlando. We've owned there quite a bit in the past. Once again, this property is very similar. It's one of those communities that get a lot of cookie cutter homes that look the same. So BPO value on this one, 255, built in 1977. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath. It is vacant. I didn't include the square footage on these. Sorry, guys. I thought I did. But in some of these I did not. I guess well, shoot. Oh, it wasn't on the spreadsheet. The square footage was on the spreadsheet. That's the reason. Okay. Anyway. UPB of 313, legal balance of 318. So negative 363,000 in equity. If you bought this at 80% of the BPO, that'd be 204. Sales price, or if you sold it to foreclosure auction for the 255, you'd see about a $46,000 foreclosure. Sale profit is pretty good at 22.5. If you had to sell it as an REO, you only see about 20 after closing costs, stuff like that. And so it's just at a 10% cash and cash return for that. That's not including if the value went up, if you did repairs, stuff like that. Like I said, I'm only going off of the spreadsheet, what they gave me the BPO. Their BPOs, though, usually do take into consideration if they need some work. That's something to think about. Okay. Jackson has a question. Is 80% of BPO rule of thumb that funds sell non-performing negative equity? Notes that. Yes and no. I've gotten stuff lesser than that. I just know how this seller is. This seller is looking at 80%. That's what they're looking at. If they're not really going to go below that too much, because if they go below that, they're just going to do it themselves. But this fund, I've bought it 80%. I bought it 70% before. It just depends on the asset by asset basis. He's not, like I said, on the ones I've already asked for, some are at 80, others are below. I'm just trying to give you a ballpark. Okay. Now, if there is equity, okay, ton of equity. All right. We're talking 50 grand or greater. They're not going to go off the BPO. If there's a ton of equity, they're not going to go off the BPO. They're going to go at like probably 90% of the legal balance in a lot of cases. That's where there's a ton of equity. All right. Negative equity, you want to make sure it makes sense for you. Obviously, what is not considered in here is any of your money costs, funding costs for your investors that you got to figure out as well, or how you structure that deal. But negative equity nuts, where they're way upside down, I usually say below 70, 60, 65, but I don't want to tell you that and you guys get your heart broken if you're going to make some offers and decide you want to make it offers and they come back at 80, 82, something like that. Does that make sense for you, Jackson? Yeah. Trying to be as transparent as I possibly can for you guys. All right. So this one's 6 to 12 month foreclosure time frame in the NOI, but it's not a bad looking little property though in Leesburg. Okay. I once had a house that we bought the note on that had a horrible bat infestation in the rafters. It's pretty interesting. It's just the attic was just full of guano and it caved in one of the ceilings in one of the bedrooms. It was so bad. This one's in Sanford, Florida. Sanford's on the northeast side. There's an airport up there. It's kind of nice. For some reason, this didn't have a current photo, so I had to take an aerial on. As you can see, this one's got a pool in the backyard. BPO value on this is 310, built in 84. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, vacant. Unpaid balance on this is 350. Estimated legal is 365, 366. Negative equity of 56,000. If you bought this at 80% BPL, you'd be paying 240. If you sold it for the value, 57,000. That's a pretty good chunk of cash right there. That's what I look for. So basically, if you sold it at auction, it's about 23% cash on cash return. Pretty much enough for you to give a 12% return to an investor to fund the deal along the way, and you still pocket a good chunk of change. If you had to take it back though and didn't sell it at auction, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense unless it, some upkeep to it would bring the value up to it. 6 to 12 months, and once again, the NOI is pending on this. Okay, this one's in Ocala, Florida, also near Orlando. 250, 89 built, 3-bed, 2-bath, vacant SFR. UPB of 265, estimated legal of 275. So negative equity of 25. And, if you buy it at 80% of the BPO would be at 200. You'd see about a $45,000 profit at the foreclosure sale. That's provided they went up to full value. If you had to take it back, it's right at a 10% cash and cash return with $20,000. 6 to 12 month foreclosure time frame, and NOI is pending. This one in Panacea, Florida, a little rural, obviously. It's off the road with a lot of trees. So this photo, I could actually see something on the above. I couldn't see anything from the road, so that's why I've shared that for you to kind of get an idea of what the house looks like on there. UPB, this one is 367, built in 2003, 3.2, vacant. This one didn't look too bad, honestly, as far from what I could tell. Other photos, with it being built in 2003, that's not too bad. It's also, I think, on about 1.5 acres. Okay. The great thing about rural properties is less people look at them. Rural properties, if you're in an area and it interests you, you can often find some decent deals with some acreage if you want to. Like one of our coaching students was buying a double wide mobile home on what he thought was 1 acre. It was on 17.5 acres and was a hell of a deal. Right. Pretty excited about that one. Okay, so if you bought this at 80%, it's 293. Foreclosure sale profit of 68,000. It's about a 23% return. REO profit of 31 at 10.8% roughly. 6 to 12 month time frame. NOI is pending. Getting into Crestview, Florida, in Okaloosa County. BPO value in this house 285. 2007 built, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, vacant. This photo was taken from March of last year, so less than a year old photo. Okay. One thing you look at on here, you can see the actual HUD inspection reports, or the, this house is vacant flyers in the actual window there for you. Okay. UPB of 278 or 270, right at 280, estimated legal 285. Only $131 in negative equity. If you bought this at 228, you'd see roughly about a 52,000 foreclosure sale profit. That's a pretty good return at 23%. REO sale profit, if you had to take it back and relist it just as it was, no work, that's 23,000. Same thing, 6 to 12 months and NOI pending. All right. Pensacola, Florida. I really like the look of this little house. This photo is taken from 2022, April of 2022. In Escambia County, BPO value is 255. Built in 1964, so it's a little older home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, vacant. When you see an older build like that, you have to almost always expect it's going to need some updates to it. Okay. Unpaid balance 195. Estimated legal is 207. So there's a little bit of equity. 47,000. Purchase price at 80% of the lesser would be 166, because that's off of your legal balance. This legal balance is below the BPO. If you sold it at auction, you see a profit between what you bought it for and that 83,000, which is pretty good. Did I do that right? Hang on here. Legal balance is 207. That might be. I might have gotten my math off on that one. One of these, there was a couple of these were a little off. Anyway, taking it back, it's 58,000. Actually, it's a pretty decent deal at that. Yeah, foreclosure time frame 6 to 12 months. The NOI is pending. This one's in Largo, Florida. This is the one for the family. This is from 2022, and you can see a shadow get a little bit closer. It looks like at the bar one there. Okay. BPO value 304. Estimated legals 244. It's just under $60,000 in equity. If you bought it 80% of the legal balance, that'd be at 195. You sold at the auction, 195, and legal 245. Yeah, my math is off on these. I must have these off. Sorry, guys. Shoot. So that's still pretty decent. I can't go back and fix these now. Anyway, we're going to disregard the math. Okay, so I'm going to have to do the math on my own here. So legal balance is 244. If you bought it at the 195, you'd see about a $52,000 profit on that. Buying at the notes, if you forget some of these numbers. Sorry about that. We'll move on. Daytona Beach, Florida. This was a decent little house, but it had too many trees around it. It's a 1951, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $370,000 BPO. Legal balance is 305, so it's got a little bit of equity at 64,000. If you paid at 80% of the legal balance, you'd be paying 244. If you sold it at auction for the legal balance, you'd be making roughly about 70 grand. And if you sold it then at the 370, that's where you'd make a nice chunk of change. That's what I got wrong. The purchase price 244, 370, 120. So yeah, foreclosure REO profit would be a decent price on that. That's what I did. I got screwed up and put the number in the wrong spot. All right, but that's okay. Still a decent return on this one if you buy it. Now, that's the thing about this. With equity, you're only gonna get the legal balance. Legal balance is 305. If you put 80 cents of the dollar, it's 244. That's a $61,000 difference. That's still about a 25% cash and cash return if you sold it at the auction. If you took it back and sold it as an REO and got 370 for it, 370 minus your 244, that's where that $126,000 in profit comes in. 120 at least. Gives you a bit of a nice aspect of that. Oh, I didn't take the closing costs. It's just a little bit more, 10%. Yeah, so that's the 83,000 of profit. Okay. Lakeland, Florida, this little house here, built in 1980, 250,000 of value, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, vacant. This is January of last year, so this is a year-old photo. I'm on unpaid balance of 165, legal is 171. Like I said, it's valued at 250. It's got positive equity of 78. Take 80% of the legal balance, that gets you 137 as your purchase price. If you sell it at auction for the 170, because that's your full legal, you'd see roughly about a $34,000 profit. Okay. The REO sale, you took it back and sold it then for the full value 250 after paying 137. Yeah, you'd see roughly about an $82,000 profit, which would be about a nice 78% return. So is it worth you risking holding it and only getting the 20% equity of the legal balance? Because the equity is property value is quite a bit above there. Okay. 6 to 12 months. Once again, attorneys issue the NOI pending on this one. This one's in Newport Richey, Florida. 250. Decent looking house, but a lot of trees. This photo was taken April of last year. So this is a 9-month-old photo. Vacant, built in 68. Unpaid balance 152. Legal balance is 163. It's got $86,000 in equity. You bought it at 80 cents on the dollar of legal. You pay 130 for it, or 131. Sold it at auction for the 163. You'd get roughly 32,000 roughly. That's still a pretty decent cash and cash return. If you sold it as an REO, minus your expenses, you'd still make about an $89,000 profit on taking it back to foreclosure. Foreclosure time frame is 6 to 12 months there in Florida. Once again, NOI is pending. St. Augustine, Florida, in St. Johns County. I know St. Augustine is a nice area. This one's not too far from the beach. This is a photo from May of 2024, so 8-9 months. It is that I guess that window had been broken, so that's why it was boarded up. On that one, I did not see interior view, so I don't know what kind of condition it is. But the value of this is 265. Unpaid balance of 117. Legal 126. It's got a chunk of equity, 138,000 on there because it's not too far from the water and where it's at. Buy this at 101,000. If you sold it at the legal, you'd make roughly 26,000, and it's okay. And if you took it back, that's where the real decent profit is. You'd make a 100 chunk and change, 132 and change, taking it back and selling as an REO. This one might be worth the holding on to it aspect of it, because it's it's a little beach house St. Augustine. I don't know what kind of conditions since the hurricane went through there, but if this is in good condition, you can pick this at 80. It makes sense to do that. Even in Florida, I've not been the happiest with Florida lately because of insurance costs. Your insurance is definitely going to cost you here, but definitely something to think about. And that's all our Florida stuff. Okay, now we're moving in a little bit further up north. We're into Iowa country, the Hawkeyes, the Cyclone area. Okay. This one, I was surprised, only had a $70,000 value, built in 1964, 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, vacant in Cedar Rapids. Okay. I think it's outdated. I didn't have a current photo because I had to take this off of a different site that didn't give me a photo of the property. So this could be a current photo, could not be. Unpaid balance of 183, estimated legals 223. So I think it needs a lot of work. Negative equity on this one. If you paid it 80 cents on the dollar of the BPL, you pay 56 for it. If you sold it at auction, you'd make 14 grand roughly. Minus your foreclosure costs, so about 10. If you took it back as an REO, you wouldn't make that much because you got expenses on it. Now it's not. Now I don't know what the BPO value, but based on our numbers on this, it'd be a very break-even REO sale. If you didn't sell it at auction, you had a listing agent to do it, and the value didn't go up. Foreclosure time frame on this is 5 to 6 months. I would obviously ask for the interior inspection report on this to see what kind of condition it is, and then having somebody get out and take a look at it. Okay. This one in Waterloo, Iowa, County of Blackhawk. BPO value 175. It's built in 1967. 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath, vacant. This is photo from May of 2021. UPB is 225. Legal balance 239. So it got negative equity. It's upside down by 64,000. If you bought it at 80 cents on the dollar of the BPO value, which is lesser, that'd be 140. If you took it to the foreclosure auction, you'd make roughly $30,000, which is still about a 21% cash and cash return selling at the auction. If you took it back and had to sell it traditionally, it's less profitable at 12.5. It's about a 9-10% cash and cash return, give or take a little bit. And it's a 5 to 6 month foreclosure time frame. And again, that's the beginning because the notice of intent is just pending, is getting ready to go out. Okay, so you got to hold it for a few months. Now, hopefully, if you didn't sell it at auction, and you took it back, you could increase quite a bit the value of this. All right. This one's a little remote in Boone, Iowa. BPO value is 75,000, built in 1979. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I think the Unabomber's living here. I'm just joking. Unpaid balance of 131. Legal balance just under 140. So negative equity 64. If you paid 80 cents on the dollar to 75, you'd pay 64. You'd make about 10 grand at the foreclosure sale. If you take it back as an REO, you'd probably make just about break even. 5 to 6 month foreclosure time frame in Iowa, and the NOI is pending. Okay. All right. This one is in Marshalltown, Iowa. Small little house built in 66, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I think this was about 1,200 square feet, if I remember, because I looked at it. It's $180,000 BPO value. Unpaid balance is 209. Estimated legal is 224. This photo is from September of 2022, so just over 2 years old. 80% of the BPO would be a price of 144. If you sold at the foreclosure auction and got the full BPO value, it'd be $31,000 profit, about 22% cash and cash return. Not bad. If you had to take the property back and sell it and use agents and then more closing costs, it's about a 9% cash and cash return, only 13 grand. 5 to 6 month time frame, and the NOI has expired. The notice of intent, the letter of notice of intent has expired, but it's not been referred to council to start the foreclosure process. Okay, so that's a good thing. It's the attorney's sending out, hey, we're going to start foreclosure, and now it's going. All right, so it's at the start of the, basically you're about a month into it then. Okay. Newton, Iowa. This one in Jasper County. It's got a value of $130,000, built in 1953. It's only a 2-bed, 2-bath, but it was weird. This is the side of the house. It's on the weird cul-de-sac or weird corner lot. The corner lot sticks way out. So you got a big yard that I had to cut off kind of half there. September 2022 photo. BPO was 130, unpaid balance 141. The legal balance is 162. Negative equity of basically 32,000. You paid 104, which is 80% of the 130. You'd see about a $21,000 foreclosure sale at 20%. If you had to take it back as a REO and sell it with traditional, and the value to increase, that's a 7.69% profit. 5 to 6 month time frame. The notice of intent is pending. Mason City, Iowa. In Cerro Gordo County, value 140, built in 1950, 4-bedroom, 1 bath. I think it's only like 1,400 square foot. Also on a end lot, corner lot. This is from September of last year, so it was in pretty good shape based on September of 2024. Unpaid balance 165, legal is 171, negative equity of 30,000. If you bought it at 80%, that's 112. You make about $23,000 the foreclosure sale. That's a 20.5% cash return. If you had to take it back, you'd make about $9,000. Give or take a little bit, that's only about 8%. Okay. 5 to 6 month foreclosure time frame there in Iowa, and the NOI from the attorney is pending. Des Moines, West Des Moines. This one, 175,000, built in 55. You can see the detached garage. This photo is from August of last year. So I think this is actually the family cleaning the property out because the bar was deceased already, or it's the property preservation that came by when Google Maps came by. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Unpaid balance of 191, estimated legal 196. Negative equity of 20,000. If you bought this at 80% of the BPO, that'd be 140. You make right at 30,000 straight up on the foreclosure sale. That's a 21.4% cash return. Took it back. If you take it back as an REO and just sell it as it is, it's only about an 8.9% or a profit about 12,500. Foreclosure time frame is 5 to 6 months, and the NOI is pending. Altoona, Iowa. This was a nice looking property. It was August 2024 photo. Built in 1997, $170,000 value, 2-bed, 2-bath. Estimated legal balance on this is 190, so it's got negative $20,000 in equity. Purchase price at 80% of the BPO value would be 136. If you sold it at the auction for the 170, after expenses about 29,000. It's a 21% sale at the ROI. If you took it back, you'd make about 12 grand after paying closing costs and commission. Of course, if you're your own agent, it's a different story. But foreclosure time frame 5 to 6 months, and the NOI is pending. This one is Urbandale, Iowa. I had to take it out because that tree was blocking it, as you can see there. Built in 1955, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Value is 190. This one's going to need some upgrades. This is, like I said, 2021 photo. I had an earlier photo, but couldn't see it because of the tree. Estimated legal on this is just right at 200,000, so it's negative equity about 10,000. 80% of the BPO is at 152. You make about 34,000. The foreclosure sale, which is at 21.7%. You took the property back, you make about 14 grand because you got to pay closing costs and commissions. So it's about a 9.2% cash return. Okay. Foreclosure time frame 5 to 6 months, and notice of intent is pending. Here's another one in Iowa, Ankeny, Iowa. Valued at 210, built in 61, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, with a detached garage. This is October of last year, so relatively current photo there in Iowa. No snow yet. Legal balance of 207. So it's got equity of is that 2,600 bucks. So not a lot of equity. Purchase price at 80% of the BPO value. That's at 165. You make about 39 grand at the foreclosure sale, which is 23.6%. If you took it back and had to sell as an REO, it's about 18 grand, which is not too bad if you're using your own money, but only about 10.9% return. Now, remember here, this is a 5 to 6 month foreclosure time frame. If it sells faster and then you sell it faster, that ROI goes through the roof. This is annualized. I mean, this is just figuring out flat up 1 year. Of course, if it's a 5 to 6 month time frame, you foreclose and sell it in 30 days, that ROI isn't 10.9, it's 21.8. All right, so keep that in mind. Where can I get note investment software? Cheryl, I tried getting it from Doug. I don't know who Douglas Rutherford is, but he's not developed it yet. I don't know who it is. So software is a lot of spreadsheets and going through stuff. That's why I would highly recommend you attend the class upcoming in a month, Cheryl. You'll learn how to break down spreadsheets and how to go through some stuff. Software is okay, but it's different. Like reverse mortgage is going to be different than looking at a 30-year mortgage, or different than looking at a contract for it. And each state's a little bit different for you. Okay. Yeah, here's a house in Des Moines, Iowa. It wasn't too bad. I don't have a current photo. This was off a different website. Valued at $225, built in 1960, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Unpaid balance on this is 213. Legal is 222. It's about 28,000 in equity. Purchase price on this one would be at 177,000. Would see about a 42,000 foreclosure profit, and an REO sale profit of, where did I go with it? About 20 grand, which is not bad. 11.1% if it took you a full year for that. 5 to 6 month foreclosure time frame, and the NOI is pending. Another one in Clinton, Iowa. This is a photo from September 2023, so it's just over a year old on that photo. Built in 1958, another 3-bedroom, 1-bath, valued at 139,000. It's got about 14 grand in equity, because the legal balance is 124. If you bought this at the purchase price at 80% of the legal balance, which is lesser, it's at 99,000. You'd see about a $33,000 foreclosure sale profit, which is pretty good at 34%. If you took it back as an REO and sold it that way, you'd see about a $20,000 profit, or about a 20% cash and cash return on this one. This is a 5 to 6 month time frame, and the NOI is pending. This one is a decent looking property, about 3 acres in Charles City, Iowa, valued at 230, built in 1960, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. This photo is from November of 2021. It's a couple years old. So it's a little rural compared to some of the other ones. Legal balance on this is 182. I said BPO is 23, so it's got equity of about 48,000. If you bought this at 80% of the legal, because it's got equity, it'd be 145. If you sold it, this is where my math got off a little. You'd see about a $40,000 profit at the estimated legal, and an REO sales profit of about 56,000 if it didn't sell at auction. You bought it for 145 and you sold it for 230. So about 56 after your closing costs and commissions and stuff like that. 5 to 6 month time frame. And this one is different. Guess what? The prejudgment, the mid-summary judgment has been filed. That's a good one. So the foreclosure is almost done on this one. This one could be pretty decent. Okay. Like I said, against the number on this one, forget the foreclosure sale profit, because my numbers were off. For some reason, my formula in my spreadsheet. See, that's a problem when you have equity deals and negative equity deals. You have to readjust your spreadsheet. And I think I messed up on my formula for that for a couple. Anyway, moving on. This one is in Topeka. We moved to Kansas, a Jayhawk state, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. This one is built in 1920. This is away from the road. It's about as best of photos I can get. This is from October 2012. Okay. BPO value is 275, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It is 2-story house on a couple acres. Unpaid balance 257. Less made legal is 272. It's got about 2,500 in equity. You paid 80 cents of the dollar of the, basically either legal or BPO. You'd be paying 218 for it. You'd see roughly about a $59,000 profit at the foreclosure auction. If you took it back after cost, see this one, my numbers are right on this one again, 275. Yeah, so it'd be about a $24,000 profit on an REO sale. And this is the thing in Kansas, it has a 4-month, 3 to 4 month time frame to foreclose, and you have a 3-month redemption period. So after you foreclose, the sheriff will hold the deed for 3 months before you can sell it, which is not that big a deal if you're doing a rehab, right? But what's the redemption period means? It means the borrower has the right to come back and redeem it. Not going to happen with a borrower. Now, the heirs on this, if the heirs didn't show up, they still have that 3 month to come back in. So you're not getting really around that redemption period. First legal status on this one, okay? Here's another one in Wichita, Kansas. I thought was kind of nice looking. 250,000, built in 1954. 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. This is a photo from 3 years ago, January 2022. Unpaid balance of 166, legal 175. So there's about $40,000 in equity. If you bought 80 cents of the dollar of the legal balance, you pay 140. If you sold it at auction, you'd get about $30,000, $35,000. If you sold it as an REO, you'd see about 49 on this. Foreclosure time frame is 4 months foreclose plus 3-month redemption period. First legal on this. Another one in Kansas. So it's a little rural, Linwood, but it's kind of like the house between the trees, you know. In Leavenworth County, $280,000 BPO, built in 65, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. This photo is from August of last year. Okay. So it is a 5-month-old photo. Unpaid balance of 211, legal is 222. It's got about 58,000 in equity. If you bought it 80 cents of the dollar of the legal, you pay 177. You'd sell it at auction and make about is that about 50,000? I have the math on that was weird for some reason. Anyway, and if you sold it at an REO, you make about 70 grand on that because the value is above the legal balance. So there's some equity in this. This is one where buy it, you make a decent chunk, $40,000, $50,000 at the foreclosure auction. If that doesn't work, you take it, sell it as an REO. Now, obviously, I don't know days on market. I don't know what's going on in Leavenworth County or Linwood, Kansas, but you take it out there. This is pending first legal. Okay. Minneapolis, that moves up to the land of 10,000 lakes, the land of my birthright, the land of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. Okay. In Hennepin County, this one, small little pink house. I mean, small little house, $185,000 value, built in 1923. It was probably the smallest house in the block. 2-bed, 1 bath. This is from November of 2022 photo. Estimated legal on this is $332,000. Negative equity, quite a bit of $140,000. If you bought this at 80% of the BPO, because that's way below the legal, that's $148,000. If you sold it at auction, buying it for $148,000 and selling it for $185,000, you'd see $32,000. Once again, my math is right in this one. That's about a 22% cash return. If you had to sell it as an REO, you'd probably have to do some upgrades. Hopefully, the value would go up quite a bit if you. I think you can add on. If I remember, look, the aerial, it goes back a little bit, but you'd almost definitely want to add on because it is the smallest house on the block there. So I don't know what value, but if you just got what you got, it's about a $13,000 profit. In Minnesota, it's a 4-month foreclosure process and a 6-month redemption. I've been thinking it was 12-month redemption period, but on this, it's a 6-month redemption period, and it's pending the first legal. So you're going to be in this for about a year on that one. Hopefully, the value goes up in Minneapolis. Okay. Here's another one in Minnesota in Columbus Township, worth $350,000. Is built in 1973. It's a good sized house. Looks like a ranch, dual layer, and a lot of things too. Minnesota's got a lot of basements, houses with basements, and I think this one's got a basement for sure. So your square footage is a little bit different. Okay, but vacant. This is a photo from 2019. Unpaid balance 351, legals 363, so it's negative equity of about 13,000. If you paid the 80% of 350, you're paying 280. And then selling it at the auction, you make about 65,000, which is a pretty decent return. If you took the property back, you make about 30,000 on the REO sale. My math is right on that. Same thing, foreclosure time frame, 4 months to foreclose, 6-month redemption. So it's just starting the full legal. Like I'd be expected to be in this for a year, roughly. Another one in Plymouth, Minnesota, in Hennepin County. $470,000 value, built in 1961, 4-bedroom, 2 bath. That big lump, I don't know if that's an Indian burial ground or what that is. But I mean, I couldn't get a better photo of it. Anyway, this is from July of 2023. Unpaid balance of 348, legals 376. It's got $93,000 in equity. The purchase price at 80% of the legal would be at 301. You'd make about, my math is wrong on this. So 301, you'd make about 75,000 on the foreclosure sale, not the 163. So still about a 25%, 27% cash return. If you sold as an REO, you'd make about 116 then. Because it's valued at 470, you're buying at 301. Yeah, you get a little bit more. That's a nice chunk of change. That might make it worthwhile to hold on to the year to make $116,000 on a deal. You know what I mean? Not too shabby. Now, if you're paying money at 12%, you got to add that figured into it. So if you bought it at 302 or 300, 12% of that for a year is 36 grand. So this is going to cut into, you're still going to make 50, 80 grand somewhere around there. For pending first legal, once again, 4 months, 6-month redemption, and go from there. That takes us out of Minnesota. in a Tar Heel state in North Carolina. And this one is in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I could not find a better view of this. Now, I don't think this is a tarp. I think this is actually Tar Heel blue that they have on either a deck or something. I don't think it's a tarp. I think it's Tar Heel blue. This house was built in 1927. It's built, it's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, BPO value 320. Estimated legal balance is 575, UPB is 569. I think this needs some work. If you bought it at 80% of the BPO, it'd be at 256. If you sold it at the foreclosure auction, you wouldn't, you would get the 320, 250. So yeah, you see about 60 grand. If you sold it as an REO, hopefully the value would go up and you make more than the 27,000 as it stands. Great thing about North Carolina, it's a 3 to 4 month foreclosure time frame. The NOI is pending. The one issue with North Carolina is they do have an upset bid, so it could drag on a little bit longer than 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 months. Just depends if anybody's bidding. It gives the auctioneer always gives, like, was it a week or 2 weeks for a new bid to come in and upset you. Okay. Another one, this one in Black Mountain, North Carolina, literally Black Mountain. It's up in there, it's off a road. That's about as best of photos I could get from Fandango and the Google view and everything else I found. BPO value is at 322, built in 1999, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This photo is from March of 2023. Unpaid balance of 554, legal balance is 567, negative equity of 244,000. All right. If you bought it 80% of the BPO value, that's at 258. You sold it at the auction for the as-is value, that's getting a just under a $60,000 value. If you took it back and sold it as is with an agent, you'd see about a $27,000 value profit. 3 to 4 months, and the NOI is pending. Okay, question here. All right, so Cheryl, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. So here's the thing. If you're buying the note, Cheryl, and you're buying it 80%, okay, the most you can list it for at auction is the legal balance. Now, if the value is way above what's owed, that's a good thing. That's the difference, okay? So if a house is worth 200, but they owe 150, well, you can only, if you buy it 80% of 150, you're paying 120, right? So if you take it to auction, the most you can list it for is the 150, because that's the legal balance, right? So you paid 120, you get it full payoff at 150, that's $30,000 in profit to you on a foreclosure sale. But if you take it, it doesn't sell at auction, and it's worth 200, you can turn around, you get the full value at that point, selling the property for the full value after rehab, upkeep, clean out, stuff like that. So if you grow the value to 225, you're selling it just as a traditional REO then. So 225 minus what you paid for it at 120, that's about $105,000 profit. Okay. That's the reason there's different calculations. Okay. That's the reason. When they have equity, you're not going to get the full value. Okay. All right. The notice of intent is pending. It means they basically, the attorney is sending it out sometime in the last couple days. Okay. This tape is updated as of January 4th or January 5th, something like that. So the notice of intent has been filed by the new lender who sent me this list. Okay. Yeah, that's the reason for the different calculations. When there's negative equity, you calculate one way. When there's equity, you calculate it a different way. All right. A lot of people that come in from real estate, they calculate off after repair value. Well, you're not entitled to after repair value because you don't own the property. Okay. You have to look at the legal balance. And when there's negative equity, when they're upside down, well, then you go off the value, as is value. If there's equity, then you go off the legal balance as your cost basis. Notice of intent to foreclose. No, NOI means the notice of intent to foreclose. That's the first legal proceeding that the attorney will send on your behalf out to the borrower saying, hey, you're not paying. We intend to start the foreclosure process. That's what NOI stands for. Okay, not net operating income. If it's NOI means it's been sent out. You still got to go through the regular rest of the foreclosure process in that state. Okay. Like this, the NOI is pending, means the attorney's in the process of sending it out. Okay. All right, this next one is in North Carolina, Harker's Island. This is not too far from the water. Well, that's also, it can be confusing. That's why we explained this in the very beginning a couple times. So, but I don't expect you to understand, especially when I screw up on my formulas on some of these. I don't know why 5 or 6 of them are off and the rest are looking okay. But hey, if you're first time here, that's why we have our classes to walk you through this process. Now, if I was just showing you the spreadsheet, you'd be completely confused and not have a better idea of me breaking it down like I did here. Okay. This is small, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, built in 1944. I missed the first because the hubby needed me. Ugh. Wow. Good times. Sorry, hubby. Good thing we're recording this and you can go back and watch it. Good times. Happy wife, happy life. This photo is from February of this year. Looks like the family's cleaning out the property, which is what I expect. The toilet is out. TMI. Unpaid balance on this one is right at 400,000, 420. BPO value is 300. Purchase price will be at 80% of the BPO value because there's negative equity. So 240. You see about a $55,000 profit after foreclosing at the foreclosure auction. If you had to take it back and then sell it as an REO, you make about 25, which is not bad. In North Carolina, it's a 3 to 4 month time frame. And I would think this one would probably move pretty fast. It's not right on the water, but it's close enough to the water. It's a little shack. Okay. And the notice of intent to foreclose is being issued. It's pending. Okay. Moving on here. This one is in Hartford, North Carolina. This is a March 2023 photo. So it's been vacant for a little while. BPO value 250, built in 1970. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, vacant single family. Unpaid balance is 315. Legal balance is 336. Negative equity of 86. If you bought it at 80% of the BPO, you pay 200. If you sold it at the foreclosure auction, you'd make about 45 to 50,000. If you took it back as an REO, you'd make about 20 grand and some change. In North Carolina, the foreclosure time frame is 3 to 4 months. So this could still be about a 20% cash and cash return or greater if you annualize the return. And then NOI is pending on this one. Reedsville, North Carolina. Rockingham, BPO value 231, built in 1960, 3-bedroom, 1-bath or 1.5 bath house. This is the back of the house. I couldn't get a better picture from the front of the house. It was kind of stopped. I couldn't really see it that much. So UPB is 248, legal is 272, negative equity of 42,000 basically. Give me 1 second here. Videos. Trying to pull up something off here. If you bought it at 184, you'd sell it and make about 40 grand to foreclosure sale. If you took it back as an REO, didn't get any higher value, you'd make about 18 to 20 grand, 3 to 4 month time frame, and the NOI is pending on this one. Okay. All right, let's see here. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Somebody asked me a question. This is for wholesaling notes or investing? This means investing. You buying the note and then foreclosing on the property yourself. Not wholesaling, not at all. Okay. If you don't know where to get started, go to our class at notebuyingfordummies.com. That's notebuyingfordummies.com and sign up for the next class in February here in Austin, Texas. All right. Purchase price on this would be 184 at 80% of the BPO because there is, negative equity upside down. Make about 41 grand on the foreclosure sale. REO sale would be about 18 grand, 3 to 4 month time frame. It's still about a 20% cash and cash return. Hey, Albert, good to see you, buddy. See you join us live. This one is in Clinton, North Carolina. Now, I was surprised I couldn't get a good photo, but it was back from the street. But this is a pretty good size house. Okay, it was built in 1995. It butts up against this tree line is like a big pond or lake at the back side of it. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, built in 1995. Current BPO is 310. Unpaid balance of 323,000. Estimated legal is 346. Purchase price at 248. Foreclosure sale profit at 57. REO sale at 26 and some change. Not so bad. 3 to 4 month time frame on this one. It is vacant, guys, so it's a pretty good size house. It's vacant. NOI is pending. So I had a separate detached 2-car garage in the back there. This one's in Reedsville, North Carolina. 225,000, built in 1993. It is up on a hill. That it is going up the hill for the driveway. 3-bed, 2-bath. This photo is from March of 2023. UPB is 207. Estimated legal is 226. Negative equity of only about $1,200. Bought it at 80 cents on the dollar of the BPO value. That would be at 180. So you make about 45,000 at the foreclosure sale. And at the REO sale, it's about 17 to 20 grand. All right. 3 to 4 months, the notice of intent is pending. So I guess it's been sent out and they're waiting for the date for the 30 days for it to expire. All right. That takes us to Newton, North Carolina. This one's a little rural. You see the grass. This photo is from 2023, June. BPO value on this one's 241, built in 53, 31. It's got some equity. Estimated legal balance about only 171. So you make an offer in 80% of the legal balance. That's 137. So if you sold it there, that's where my math is on. That's where I got upside down with the equity deals on these. You'd make about 40 grand. If you took it back as an REO, you would make more chunk because it's worth 241. If you bought it for 131, you'd make a good sizable chunk of change, about about $75,000, give or take, after expenses. Okay. 3 to 4 month time frame. NOI is pending. This one, okay, this is in Hendersonville, North Carolina. This is where a lot of these houses are duplexes. So that's why it's kind of cut off. This is the one side, and there's another house attached to the other side. This is an older photo, June of 2012, too. Okay, gated community, built in 91, 2-bed, 2-bath, 360,000 BPO. Estimated legal is only 214. They got about 100 grand in equity. Okay, so if you bought it at the 80% of the legal, you'd pay the 170. You'd roughly get about, that's a good chunk of change, $40,000 on a foreclosure sale. And then if you REO sold it, you'd actually get, so if you took it back, paid 170, but then could sell it for the 316, you get about $108,000 after closing might 3 to 4 months. This one might be worth looking at. Henderson, I don't know how big it is, but worth potentially looking at on that one. Because you'd make a decent deal because you're buying it at 170 and the legal's only 213. So that's $43,000 difference between the legal and what you paid for it. For 4 month time frame, that's pretty good. Okay. Minus your holding costs of 10 grand on your money costs, borrowed 210,000 at 12%. So that's 20. So it's 10.5. Yeah, you're still gonna make 25 grand to foreclosure. This one kind of makes sense. Now we get into Oklahoma. This one is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, $290,000 value. This is in Enid, Oklahoma. 2022 photo. Unpaid balance 492. Legal balance of 515. So negative equity of 225,000. If you bought it at 80 cents a dollar, the BPO, that's 232. If you sold it at the foreclosure auction, difference in price is that $54,000. If you took it back as an REO, provided it is what it is, you see about $24,000 profit. Foreclosure time frame in Oklahoma is 3 to 4 months, which is pretty good, and it's pending the first legal. Okay, so just started the foreclosure on this one. Here's another one in Moore, Oklahoma. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 244,000 value property. UPB. This is a March photo. Okay, March photo so just less than a year old. Legal balance is 342, UPB 310, negative equity of 97, 80 cents on the dollar, the BPO, because there's way more owed than the value. So that'd be 196. If you sold it at auction for the 245, that's a $44,000 profit. If you took it back and then just sold it for the 245 again, that's about 20 grand difference with your holding costs. All right. Foreclosure time frame in Oklahoma, 3 to 4 months. First legal just started on this one. And I think I looked at this one. This one's in pretty good shape. This one's in Claremore, Oklahoma, a little bit rural. That's about as best a photo as I could get from the street view. Valued at 245, built in 1989. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Photos from April 2021. Legal balance is 322, so it's upside down by 77,000. If you paid 80 cents a dollar of the BPO, you pay 196. If you took it to foreclosure in 3 to 4 months, you see about a $44,000 profit. If you took it back as an REO and the value didn't go up, you'd only see about a $20,000. I'm expecting that the values would increase by in 3 to 4 months a little bit, and then even if you added some updated, it should increase the value. That's what we've always seen. All right. The foreclosure is not started at all, so it hasn't been first legal on this one. There's no foreclosure, no open foreclosure in tempo is what they use. Okay. So you do have a solid 4 months on this one. This one's in Claremore, Oklahoma. I didn't double. 80, 52. Oh, it's just down the street. Here's another one in Claremore. Okay, good. Built in 67, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Pretty good size house. Valued at 217. This photo is from February of 2023. It's almost 2 years old photo. Unpaid balance of 265. Legal's 292. So it's negative equity of 75. If you bought the note at 80% of BPO, that's 173. If you took it to foreclosure in 4 months, you'd see about a $38,000 profit on there. That's a 22% cash and cash return, not annualized. If you annualize, that's about a 44%. If you had to take it back as an REO, it's about a $17,000 profit, about a 20%, 18 to 20% cash and cash return if you annualize it. 3 to 4 months, and it's pending first legal. Here's another one, Oklahoma City. Pretty good size house, 3-bedroom, 2 bath, built in 1972. This photo is from February of last year, so just almost a year old photo. Legal balance is 274, negative equity of 64,000 because it's only worth 210. Purchase price of 80% of the BPO on this one would be 168. You'd make about 37,000 selling at the foreclosure auction. You got full BPO value. REO sales about 16 grand after your holding costs and closing costs, commissions. Foreclosures 3 to 4 months pending first legal. Okay. Another one in Oklahoma City. This one valued at 210, built in 1959, 3-bedroom, 2 bath. I kind of cracked up when I was looking at the photos of this one because this is a photo from June of last year. These shrubs just haven't been, they're nice shrubs, not weeds. It's actually shrubs that haven't been trimmed in a couple years. Legal balance on that one is 261, negative equity of 51, so it's upside down. So 80 cents on the dollar of the BPO value would be 168. If you sold it at auction for the BPO value, it'd be 37,000. If you took it back and marketed it, it's about $16,000 profit, about an 19% cash and cash annualized return on that. 3 to 4 months, and it is pending first legal. Here's another one in Oklahoma. Oklahoma. Unpaid balance of 265, legal balance of 281. BPO value 232, so negative equity of about 49,000. You paid 80 cents on the dollar of the BPO, that's at 185. You make about 41,000 at the foreclosure auction. If you had to take it back as an REO and market it that way, you make about a 10% return. 3 to 4 month time frame. If you did it fast, you could double that number and make it about 20%. First legal pending. This one's in Shawnee. This isn't, it's the driveway's flat, just the photo looks like it's up. $210,000 value, built in 2003, 3-bedroom, 2 bath, February 2023 photo. Unpaid balance of 233, legals 248, negative equity of just about 39,000. You paid 80% of the BPO because it's negative equity, you pay 168. If you sold to the auction, you'd make about 42 minus your 5,000 equals $37,000 in foreclosure costs in 6 months, which is not bad. If you took it back as an REO and had to market that way and did not increase the value, you'd only see about a $16,000 as an REO sale. 3 to 4 month time frame and pending first legal. Another one in Oklahoma City. $275,000 value, built in 1979, 3-bedroom, 2 bath. This one was a little outdated, had a bunch of junk in it, but it was actually in good shape. I think it's the one that had the car in the garage, if I remember. This has a little bit of equity because the legal balance is only 263. Purchase price at 80% of the legal on this one is 210. You'd make about $50,000 at the foreclosure sale. Your REO sale, if you got the 275 and then paid the 210 for holding costs, is about 33,000. This one actually makes sense either way. It's actually, I think, one of the ones I'm going after. So not bad. 3 to 4 month time frame and first legal. This one's in Norman, Oklahoma. If you know where Norman is, that's where it's south of Oklahoma City. It's where the University of Oklahoma Sooners, that horrible Southeast Conference football team, lives. Hook 'em horns. Valued at 206, built in 1980, three-bedroom, two-bath. It's only 3.1 miles from the university, 5 miles from the stadium, but 3.1 from the entrance of the university. Unpaid balance of 175, legal balance of 190, equity of about 16 grand. But purchase price off of the legal balance, so you paid 152. If you sold it at the foreclosure auction for your full legal, you net about 50. If you took it back and then sold it as an REO, I want to make sure this is right. REO profit, if you bought it at the 152 that's about right after holding costs and stuff like that. So about 28, 29,000. So this one also makes sense from both sides of the equation. Pending first legal. Newcastle, Oklahoma. I found this photo, but it didn't give me a date on it. It's a little older one. $210,000 value on this 1975 home. That's a three-bedroom, two-bath. Legal balance on this is 192, so it's got a little bit of equity, about 18 grand. Unpaid balance is 177. Purchase price is 154, up to 80% of the legal because it's lesser. You'd make about 50 grand. No, I take that back. You would not make 50 grand. You would make roughly about 38,000 on a foreclosure sale because you'd only be able to sell it the full legal. If you did take it back, though, this one makes sense because you see about a $30,000 profit on an REO sale. If you bought it at the 154, sold it for 210, paid your commissions out of it, yeah, you're sitting at a pretty good profit, give or take a little bit. 3 to 4 month time frame, pending first legal. Another one in OKC. This was built in 1957. It's $220,000 home, 3-bedroom, 3-bath. It is vacant, obviously. This photo is from a year ago, February of last year. Legal balance is 182, UPB 164. So it's got about 38,000 in equity. You'd pay 80 cents of the dollar of the legal, 145. And you'd see roughly about a $32,000 profit on a foreclosure sale. My math is wrong on there. An REO sale, yeah, you do much better at about 47,000, which is pretty good. 3 to 4 month time frame on that one. This one, it's a skinny one on the REO of the foreclosure sale, but a nice chunk if it doesn't sell at auction. Okay. This one is kind of remote, rural. Catoosa, Oklahoma, built in 1993, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I only could find an aerial view because of all the trees. Valued at 205. The unpaid balance is 151. Legal is 158. So it's got some equity of about 46,000. If you paid 80% of the legal, that's 126. You'd see about a $30,000 profit by selling it at the full legal. If you took it as an REO back, you'd make a chunk of change, about 52,000, because you only paid 126 for it, and the value's at 205. Now, got to be careful about rural properties too. Time frame, days on the market's a little bit different. 3 to 4 month time frame, and legal is just starting on this one. All right, that gets us out of Oklahoma. We are in the final stretch, everybody. Final stretch of properties. We've got 6, 7 more to go. Okay, this one's in South Carolina. This house is on 1.78 acres. In Florence there. It was built in 2003, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It looked bigger. It's got a detached garage. BPO values at 300,000. It's even got its own freaking lights for the driveway. You know, what the heck is up with that? But it's a good looking property. Okay. This photo is from 2012. So this photo is 12 plus years old. Maybe it's not there anymore. The unpaid balance, estimated legal balance on this, guess what? It's 851,000. I had to double check that. So they're way upside down, negative 551. Either they haven't paid in forever. This is drug out. I don't know. I didn't see the legal stuff on it. But anyway, or it's trashed out. That's the only way to look at it. Purchase price would be at 240 of the current BPO. If you sold it at auction, you make 55. If you took the property back, you'd make about 25 grand without any repairs. I would highly imagine that if it is trashed out, you get a lot more value than 300,000 out of this one. But we'll wait and see. This is like the first house I'm requesting the interior inspection report from the lender on tomorrow. Okay, 4 to 6 month foreclosure time frame in South Carolina. There is no redemption period. It is a judicial foreclosure state, though. First legal on this one. Okay, Aiken, South Carolina. This is a house built in 89, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 219,000 value. This is from February of last year, so a relatively current photo. UPB of 208, estimated legal of 229. 80% of the BPO would be 175. You make about 39,000 foreclosing on this thing. And if you had to take it back, you'd make about 17,000 as an REO, selling it as is off of that as is value. 4 to 6 month time frame, no redemption period, pending first legal in South Carolina. Somerville, South Carolina. This is a nice looking little house. This photo is actually from 2022. And the current photo looks pretty damn good too. There's a little bit more shrubs to it, but it was a much darker photo, but it still looked good. I really thought this was a nice little house. 76 built, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. That's got a legal balance of 237,000, so it's negative equity of 18. Purchase price at 80% of the BPO because there is negative equity, would be at 189 or 190. You'd see about oh no, I take that back. You'd see 36. Yeah. So you say about 40,000 on a foreclosure sale. You'd see about 35,000 on an REO sale by taking it back. It's not bad. 4 to 6 month time frame, no redemption period, pending first legal. This one, Chesney, South Carolina, a little rural on Spartanburg County, built in 1967, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. Don't know how long it's been vacant, but I think it's on about an acre and a half. BPO value is 205. UPB is only 100. Legal balance is only 108. So it's got a chunk of equity, $97,000 in equity. If you paid $86,000 for this, though, you'd only see about a $22,000, $17,000 profit if you sold it at auction. Okay, that's one where I had my math wrong on the foreclosure sale. The REO sale, though, would be right. If nobody bought it at foreclosure, you paid 86, you sell it for 205. That's a $100,000 profit, give or take a little bit. That might be worth it, depending on how rural and what the days are market in Chesney, South Carolina. 4 to 6 month foreclosure time frame, pending first legal. Aberdeen, South Dakota. We don't focus a lot of notes up in South Dakota, North Dakota. Hey. But this one's in Aberdeen. It's a nice looking little property, some of the older photos, but this is the most recent photo of June 2022. It's the kind of the white front, and then the entrance there is right there between the two little trees, the evergreen trees. Unpaid balance of 135. This is valued at only 65,000. That's probably the cheapest property on here. Don't know the condition of it. Maybe it's because it is in Aberdeen, South Carolina, and it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Negative equity of 114,000. If you paid 52 for this, you'd make about 13 gross, 8 probably net at the foreclosure sale. On the REO sale, you wouldn't make anything. You pretty much break even for the most part. Don't know interior condition of it. I don't know how big the lot is if you could add to it to turn it into a 3-2. In South Dakota, it's a 5-month foreclosure time frame and a 6 to 12-month redemption period. That's the killer on this one. All right. Probably get away with a 6-month redemption period because they're deceased. 5 months of foreclosure, you're into this minimum at least a year. So don't know what kind of condition it's in with that BPO value of only 65. Okay. So do you have to sell it at the BPO value even if you take it back at an REO? No, you can do what the hell you want. I'm just simply saying if it takes you 6 months to foreclose, you're probably going to see a little bit of appreciation in most parts of the country on that REO side. You can sell it for less than that if you want. I'm just trying to give you a rough take. Now, if you're putting work into it, it's going to probably be more than what their BPO value is. Their BPO is as is, not an after repair. But we don't live in a fantasy world of ARV until you actually own the actual property, Cheryl. Does that make sense? Can't count your ducks before your chicks before they're hatched. So that's why we have the two different. If you sold it at auction, here's what you get. If you did take it back, here's approximately what you would get. Okay. This is not a get rich quick. It is not flipping a property in 90 days. That's why I'm trying to be honest with you guys. It is not. It's not wholesaling property. These are buying the notes with your money or somebody else's money and still making a pretty good deal on a good chunk of them if you focus through them. Are all these deals? No, there are a lot of duds, but there are some deals in here that work both sides of the equation to make sure it's good. Okay. That takes us over to Milwaukee. In Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. Yay. BPO value is 190,000, built in 1965, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I don't think this is the ghost of the borrower. I think it's a realtor looking in the window. We have seen photos of properties we walked where we actually caught ghosts, apparitions on a reverse mortgage. Actually caught a picture of a ghost, outline of a ghost standing there taking photos one time. Kind of freaky. This one's got negative equity. Legal balance is 225, so it's about 35,000 upside down. If you bought it 80% of the BPO, you pay 152. You'd make about 33 to 38,000 at the foreclosure auction. If you took it back as an REO, you make 14 grand just selling it as is for the most part. 6 to 12 month foreclosure time frame in Milwaukee and a 6-month redemption period in Wisconsin. Plus, the property taxes can kill you too. I am not a fan of Wisconsin for the most part, especially investment properties. Does not make sense a lot of times. But I don't know what is owed on this. Of course, I'm just going off what I'm given, ladies and gentlemen. You may find values be higher. You may know the market better. Like Jim, my buddy there, knows the market's pretty good where he's at, differently than what I'm given. I'm going off what I'm given without doing a lot of research for the most part. Okay. We got another one in Wisconsin. This one's a little rural, and most of it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, built in 2001. Valued at $277,000. Unpaid balance of 232. Legal's 267. So it's only about 10 grand negative, 10 grand of equity. If you bought it at 80 cents on the dollar of legal, because legal is less, you would pay 231 or 213. If you sold it at auction, you'd make about $50,000, 58 give or take. If you took it back as an REO, you'd make about 30,000. But you're into this for at least a year, 6 to 12 months. And oh, wait a second. I take that back. I missed this one. This one is post-judgment. Oh, the Milwaukee one is post-judgment. Well, look at that. Those means they've already gone through that. So I take that back. These are basically just wait for the auction now. Auction and redemption. So it's about a 6-month time frame or sooner. Okay. I stand corrected. I apologize. I missed that. 6 months. So these are basically almost REOs. They've done most of the way, gone through most of it, waiting for that foreclosure sale to happen. So if you sell it at a foreclosure auction, you could make your money, a good chunk of money back relatively quickly. That's not bad. That's worth looking into a little bit more. Here's another one in Wisconsin. This one's a new Holstein. Fond du Lac County. BPO value is 267, built in 1915. Okay, yeah. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's a big old white house. You know, it's on about 3 acres. The side of the house, if you go down the street, it's not bad, but this is about as good a one as it really reminds you. It's probably a 5,000 square foot house. Okay, this photo's from July of last year, so 6 months. No, sorry, 8 months. Anyway, unpaid balance is only 155. Legal is 190, so they've got equity of 85. You paid 152 for it, and you sold it at auction for the 190. You'd make about a $40,000 profit. Not the 118. This is wrong on my math. If you took it back as an REO and sold it, you make about 90 grand in REO sale. Now I don't know what kind of condition it's in, but the value's higher than the legal. So there is some opportunity here on this one. Same thing, mid-summary judgment, the pre-judgment, but the mid-summary judgment has been filed. The court has not appointed that, so it's probably the next month to get the judgment filed and approved. So you're basically at about a 6-month process on this one. Not bad. I don't know if you want to buy property in New Holstein, Wisconsin. I don't know what the property taxes are in this one, but there you go. And that is it. We have made it through 63 reverse mortgages. I know it's probably just like listening to me drone on here. But we got through it faster than expected. Thank you, everybody. Andy, Damon, Denisa, Jim, John, Cheryl, who else? Randall, Albert. We had quite a few folks on tonight. Thank you so much for joining in here. If you're part of our WC Inc., our monthly membership, you would have had the spreadsheet already in your inbox. You'd have had those deal sheets also sent to you as well. I got to go back and adjust the spreadsheet to figure out my calculations right, because I got them wrong on those. But on a few, but there you go. If you want to learn about note investing, make sure you look at our class upcoming in February. If you go to notebuyingfordummies.com. You can get a discounted ticket. It's usually $1,500. I think I'm still running at 50% off. We're going to be at maximum 50 people here in Austin, Texas. It's going to probably be, I don't know, I always worry about the first part of February. The first part of February is always our coldest part, but usually we're good in the clear by Valentine's Day. So, but it's going to be probably warmer than anywhere else in a lot of places, except maybe Florida. All right, so come on down to Austin for a couple days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly in Thursday night. We have a happy hour. Like I said, we're spending all the first day on finding deals. We're going to go through case studies like these, but a little bit more in depth than the case study. We'll have the taxes. We'll talk a bit more about it. Some previous deals that we've done and helping you break down some stuff. We're also give you some bonuses for sign up for the class, our wholesaling workshop, our due diligence workshop. All right. Some really great stuff there. Get signed up, notebuyingfordummies.com. It is me teaching the class. I might have one or two of our vendors come in to spend a little bit of time with you and talk about some stuff. But otherwise, that is going to be me, myself, and I. And the three of us, our three-headed monster, teaching you how to buy non-performing notes, performing notes, reverse mortgages, contract for deeds, how to turn negative into positive, how to turn into cash flow or big checks. So I want to open up this time for any questions anybody might have, any comments, any concerns before we wrap it up for the night. Denise, I hope you guys enjoyed it. No problem. Cheryl, if you get signed up for the workshop, you'll get to replace the online workshop from October. Something to think about for you. So you can start learning now and watch all the replays from the October workshop. So otherwise, guys, thank you so much. If you'd like to make some offers, reach out to me. If you're not a part of our membership, you might want to look at that $97 a month at noteumbrella.com. Your next opportunity to learn is right now, Denisa, because if you sign up for the workshop, you'll actually get the replays, the October's replays. So 24 videos of going through a lot of the same stuff to help you out with it. So you can start learning today, tomorrow. Get signed up at notebuyingfordummies.com. If you sign up for that, you'll get a ticket to the next virtual one we do as well. So other than that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for being troopers along the way here. If you have any questions or looking to make some offers, feel free to book a call with me at talkwithscottcarson.com. That is talkwithscottcarson.com. All right. That'll get you on my calendar. Let's talk. Let's connect. See what you're looking for. Love to help each and every one of you take your next steps as investors and make 2025 your most profitable year yet. So thanks, Jim. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you, everybody. Good night. God bless. And we'll see you at the top. Cheryl says, thanks. You will look at it. Are awesome. I really want to find that note investment software. Look, your software is going to be your spreadsheet, honestly. Your spreadsheet, you got to figure that out. Yeah, you can do like origination software and servicing software, but it's not the same thing when it comes to buying notes. It just is what it is. So feel free to book a call with me, Cheryl. Glad to walk you through that stuff and go from there. Thanks, John. Good to see you, buddy, too.